Hi, Christie.
Hi, Jeff.
We're recording now.
The many hours of conversation you and I have had, we've had probably half of them that haven't been recorded.
You know what we should do? We should start a podcast.
You think? Let's call it the Why and the Buy.
All right. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Why and the Buy podcast. I'm trying to see how fast I can say that every time I come back. Welcome back to the Why and Buy podcast. See, I can't say it any faster than I already have.
It's not good, too, if people have you at 125 either.
No, that's true. If you speed me up, then you really can't understand me.
Sound like a chipmunk.
You know, I can never do that thing like Wacky FM DJ does when he comes back and, hey, everybody, you've been listening to Van Halen on the Z-Rock 101. Thanks. It's a beautiful day here in Detroit, Michigan. Right. Wolfman Jack or whatever his name was. Yeah, I never wanted to be a Wacky FM DJ guy, but I do respect his or her relative chops. Christie, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Not bad for a cloudy day in the fall in southeastern Michigan.
Just hanging in there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Life's good. I'm blessed. Not quite as blessed as our two lovely guests today. We've got Jason and Laurel back with us from Slabtown Marketing. You may remember them. I hope you remember them from our episode with them a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the dynamics between respective sales and marketing departments. We talked about scarcity mindset. We talked about all kinds of problems that, even though wouldn't even occur to people like Christie and myself, and certainly not to the listeners of this fine podcast, but that are just kind of endemic out there in organizations. And we've all got to work together if we want to work effectively. And if you haven't heard that episode, go back and check it out, please. It was episode 50. We popped fake champagne on that episode. But we love Slabtown Marketing because they're awesome. They're great people. They're friends of mine. And I wanted to have them back and want to talk to them about content marketing today because, you know, it's a buzzword out there. Perhaps it's overused, but I think there's still a lot of people who don't quite understand what it means because it's not just one thing to all people or all companies. It is a lot of different things to a lot of different people and companies, and your results may vary. And I think that it's really good to have experts like Laurel and Jason on because they really understand the foundational principles behind content marketing, how to create it, how to promote it, and how to create and promote the kind of content that is going to resonate most with your target audience. You have one of those, don't you? I know Christie does. And
yep.
So
and I have a notebook
back.
and pen ready too.
Please do not take notes while driving.
I'm ready to take notes, Jason and Laurel, just in case you were wondering.
Please do not take notes while driving.
If you're driving,
our legal
pull
department,
on the side of the road, get your notebook out.
Yes. But no, welcome back. Thanks again for being here with us. And we really appreciate your opinions and your expertise because it's great stuff. I know it's helped me and I know it's helped a lot of others out there. So how are you guys today?
We're great.
We're good. Thanks for having us again.
So I'm excited about this topic because unlike my very industrious partner over there, I don't do a lot of content creation. Now, mind you, I can do an awful lot of talking, but I don't do a lot of writing. So this is why I started a podcast. There we go. This is why we have 50 plus episodes of a podcast, is because I can talk all day long. For people like me, and I know you sit down and have these conversations on a daily basis, where do you start?
That's a good question. And that's usually the most common challenge that we run into is that most people know they need to do content and they believe in content marketing. They know it can be effective, but they have no idea where to start. So this is a topic we're really excited about too, because we've chosen to live and breathe it every day. The good news is there is a place to start to make it more approachable for companies that might not have that much time to write. And the other good news is that talking in podcasts still counts as content production and content marketing. So it doesn't all
thank God
either.
Excellent. Yay. Thank you. My inner child just made a leap.
So when we talk about where to start in terms of content, we kind of the buzzword that I'll probably say a lot during this conversation is we encourage people to focus and to really think about what are you trying to do and who are you trying to reach very specifically, because the more specific you can get about it, the more resonant it's going to be with those specific people that you actually want to reach and talk to and add value to, and eventually have a connection and trust and partnership for the long term. So definitely we want people to focus. And then the other place that we start is we want people to be realistic and really think about what their budget is, how much time they have, and what resources they have at their disposal to actually create content with.
So would this be someone to write my content? Would this be something that, as a small business or a solopreneur, a lot of times I'm chief cook and bottle washer, right? So what are resources available?
It is a little bit of a different question. If you are the bottle washer and handling everything yourself, you have to be realistic about how much time and energy do you actually have to produce content, and what are you excited about talking about? And then of course there are the nuts and bolts of actual budget. If you want to promote your content through a paid campaign or through some sort of purchase advertising in a magazine, on a website, on LinkedIn, wherever. So it's really budget and time. And then also, if you do have a budget, looking into potential resources of people you can collaborate with or hire. If you're at a bigger company, you'd want to think about the other experts at your company. Who else knows a lot about what we're trying to do here, and kind of think of those experts as potential authors of the content or interview potential. So you want to look at the experts you have around you, and if you're the expert, you're the expert, and you have to look at your own time.
Right. I like the idea of having some other experts in there.
Yeah. I mean, how much time do you suggest that people devote to this? I mean, content, should this be the cornerstone of your marketing campaign? I mean, where does advertising come in for this? I mean, do you advertise your services, or then do you advertise the content? I mean, there's so many different things that are, a part of developing a marketing protocol or a marketing repertoire anymore with a small and medium business. I mean, look, especially if you're the chief cook and bottle washer, all right, I got to write, I got to record a podcast. Wait, video's got to be out there. Hold on. I mean, when do you just start doing, and when do you stop and measure and learn and adjust? I mean, and this is exactly where, we actually came together the first time. I was writing every week, creating a video every week, and then we were doing this podcast every week. And it was like, all right, so I'm creating a bunch of content. By the way, I have no idea how or when to promote it. I feel like that's just another thing I need to do. And oh, by the way, I'm the product, so I need to fulfill my role in that regard as well. How do you, are there any rules of thumb in terms of finding a balance?
I think the best way to answer that is to think about, to Laurel's point, to organize what you want your business to be and what you want to do for content, and then focus on the content itself. Like, I get this question all the time about how much content, how long does a blog post need to be, how often. It's not about that. It's about ensuring that what you put out speaks to your audience in a way that aligns with your business objectives. So if you're doing that, the frequency will come. And the frequency, that's the beauty of this approach, is over time, you will build up a library of content. So you don't have to think, oh my gosh, I've got to put out one every single day to get that library built up. You can take that approach if that works with your time and with your business or wherever, but you don't have to. You just have to make sure that each one that goes out is on point to the audience, because what it's going to do is it's going to qualify your audience for you. So if your mission is over here in right field and your content's in left field, you might as well just not be putting your efforts into that and go visit another client.
Right. If you're producing content that isn't really supporting your why, then you really have to kind of go back to the drawing board.
Well, and one of the first questions that you asked me, Jason, almost a year and a half ago now was, so who are you trying to serve? And I said, I don't know. how many people that you work with actually have a very clear understanding of who it is that they're trying to reach?
On day one or on day 180?
Well, and on what day did Slabtown Marketing become involved? Right? Like
Right.
yeah, the day one. Like, I mean, how many people really? I felt like I was in the minority. I'm like, oh my gosh, how is it that I don't even know who it is I'm serving right now? I just know that I have something that can help everybody. What?
You're not in the minority at all.
Okay.
I would say the majority of people are doing something, especially, you and Christie, you guys are, you kind of built your own thing here. So it's what you're passionate about, and you just followed your passion and where your clients led you. But to sit down and actually think about, why did I follow that direction? Why did I choose that? Why did I take this client and not that client? Why did this client work so well and that one didn't? Like, all of those questions, those all have to be answered, and plenty more, before you can really say, this is the content that I'm going to create for my business.
The common thing that we hear is exactly what you just said. Well, I know I can help with this, but I could really help with anything, and I could also help with this and also this. And it's fine to have all of those capabilities, but you have to start somewhere. Being realistic and being really honest with yourself about what you are best at and where you deliver the most value is a good place to start. It's not as if you have to turn away anyone else that ever contacts you, but it adds focus at the beginning. And I would say that about the frequency question you asked too, not knowing if there's some magic bullet of exactly certain frequency and time. I would say no to that, but I would recommend starting with goals of, I will write this many blog posts this year, I will speak at this many conferences, and just having that scope just makes it so much more digestible and easier to approach at the beginning. And you can grow from there, but it's good to have a focus and a specific
and a plan is.
Yeah, it sounds like we might need to have you guys. Go ahead.
I was just saying, even if you start with a plan and you deviate from it, that's fine too. You now know that you're deviating, and you can look and say, well, I deviated for these reasons, and then I'll create a new plan. If you don't start with a plan, you're just like, I'm going to create content. I'm going to go to the gym every morning. If I don't set the alarm, it's not happening.
We need to probably have you guys come back for a mini episode when we start doing our goal setting and planning episodes. So that's a huge element. And I love the concept of, it is perfectly fine to reroute yourself on your way to your destination if you already had an idea of a route to begin with, right? It just, you have to have some sort of plan on this journey in order to make sure you're moving in the right direction. We interviewed someone a few episodes back now. Her name is Robin Crane. And one of her themes in her book is that niches create riches. And this concept of identifying the niche that you really serve exceptionally well doesn't eliminate everything else from your possibility window. It just means that you are laser focused on diving deep and really being able to tell the story to that particular subset of people. That's a huge one. And I can, yeah.
That was episode 48. If you want to go back, anybody listening wants to go back, we had a lot of fun with Robin. She was delightful. A lot of really, really good insight. And, so much of this, the more I do this, the more I talk to people like you three lovely people, the more it dawns on me that the fundamentals make up 99% of what it is of the success that we have in what we do. I mean, just the baseline stuff of who do you serve? How do you best serve them? Why do you do it differently? How do you do it differently? What is the value proposition of that difference? So much of I just create a blog post and I blog 100 times a month and I put it out there everywhere it goes. It's like, but what are you writing about? Like, there's people, so Seth Godin does a blog every day, he publishes something every day. Anthony Iannarino publishes a blog every day and a video message every day and a weekly newsletter on top of it. And he's got, there's so much material that's out there. Blogging video, recording a podcast every day. Like, just because you're doing it every day doesn't mean that it's necessarily valuable. And what people miss is, I'm a content marketer, so I'm just going to put all this stuff out there, and then I'm going to chop it up into a million pieces and put it out a million different ways. So I'm just flooding the market with this quote unquote value. Well, then you ask them who they're valuable to, and they can't answer it. And it's not enough just to have content. It's not enough just to be visible and available on Google. I mean, if you've got a huge presence and people run into you all the time, one of two things will happen. You will either be perceived as an expert because what you're saying is resonating with somebody, or you'll be perceived as a loudmouth who is just syndicated everywhere and is annoying. I block people like that all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, how much is this person spending on promotion? Because they are everywhere. And it's kind of annoying. I'm turned off by that. And it's not enough to just push a bunch of content. There has to be a lot of thought put into the fundamentals and the foundational principles of, who you're trying to reach. And that was the thing. And I'll tell you, you guys sent me a questionnaire, and I got to the first question and I was like, uh-oh. This is going to be a long assessment. I don't know if I like this. Things are going okay the way it is. Jeff, are you sure you want to keep doing this? And but really, the simple questions with the tough answers, those are the ones that need to be answered the most. Those are the ones that need to be addressed the most. And I think that's what I love about your approach is, Jason, I've known you for a long time, and I know you as someone who understands the current tools and what is out there and is available to be used for marketing and promotion. But I also have known you as someone who understands the blocking and tackling, so to speak, of what marketing is supposed to be. And that's why I like having these conversations with you guys. It's so what should your content be? Well, Jeff, you got to be more specific with that question, because that you're dialed in too granular at that point. And I think more people should think that way, I guess is my point. Christie, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is certainly, this, Jeff, because you and I have had more conversations than I can count about how much I agonize over content. And I think it's just, I want to make sure that if I raise my voice, that I'm saying something of value and meaning. And there is a point of blocking creativity in that process as well. So there's value in being authentic, but there is also value in putting your voice out there and not feeling like you need to be completely perfect as well. I'd be interested, Jason and Laurel, just to kind of wrap this up. And do you have a handful of pointers that you would give someone who's really just spending a lot of time awake at night thinking about content, what it drives, and how do you really get good content to convert to actual dollars? So just a handful of points, anything that you might have them take a look at.
One of the key things that I've mentioned a couple times is just getting really specific about where the people you're trying to reach spend their time and get their information, and focus on those channels. Definitely don't spread yourself too thin, and that goes for frequency goals, that goes for the channels that you're covering, that goes for the span of topics that you're covering. And one key rule of thumb that I always think of when you're trying to think of what to write about is just think about the questions that your prospects have and the challenges they have, and be the best answer to that. So whatever you provide, I'll say it again, just be the best answer to that question. If they were to search for that topic, you want yours to be the standout content about that topic.
And I think there's also, and Laurel touched on this a little bit, and Jeff, you did a little bit too, when you're saying, what there's all these different avenues to put out content. If you're just starting out, just pick one. Just find out, do a little research, see, okay, this is my audience likes video. My audience likes blogs. Spend a little time looking into it, and then just make a decision and do one. You don't need to start out with a blog and then have a Facebook page and have a Twitter account. It's going to be hard to get that initial momentum going. Don't make it harder on yourself by saying, well, I need to have all these different forms to start with of content. just getting something out starts that library. It starts the process.
Well, it's funny watching the debate too, because if this can be debated, if anything can be debated, this can be debated. But I've heard I've been at these tables before where it's, oh, well, video is great because it's so engaging and you get to show emotion and you can show some context and there's body language and you can really demonstrate your passion and lean into the camera and grit your teeth and make fists, right? And then on the other side of the table, it's like, yeah, try doing SEO on video. And it's like, oh my God, are we really having this conversation? I mean, like, it's just like, because you agree with them both, right? And then it's like, well, I guess I better do it all. And then anybody who's a staunch supporter of anything, I have people tell me, how are you not on Facebook? I'm like, well, okay, I guess I exist on Facebook, but I don't hang out there. Please, anybody listening, don't come find me on Facebook. I mean, like, you can go to Facebook to find out where else to find me.
But you can find the Y and the Buy on Facebook.
Oh, of course. All right, yes, you can find the Y and the Buy on Facebook. We exist there.
Yeah, you can find the Y and the Buy on Facebook.
Yes, and when you find the Y and the Buy on Facebook, you will see links to my website and Christie's website, which is where we would prefer to be found, I think, at least speaking for myself. But
you can find me on Facebook too.
Okay, all right, fine. But I exist more on Twitter and a lot more on LinkedIn, and that's just where I feel more comfortable. And there are a lot of personal reasons that I try to stay away from Facebook, because I think there's a lot of stuff there that gets me distracted and keeps me, knocks me off my focus. I think I lose productivity when I spend time on Facebook, so I just don't spend time there. So great, you want to find me there? Send me a message. I will take a long time to respond. That's just, what I'm telling you. But it's really, I love the points that you make, kind of circling this all back. I love the points that you make that, again, who are you trying to reach and where are they? You have to go to them. You can't expect people, for a tree to fall in the forest and for people to just come and find it. You've got to do a little bit of research in terms of where those people are. But once they do have a place to come and find you, all your other outlets can direct those people back to where you want to be found. And it's really a multi-tiered or a multi-pronged approach at that point. And, Jason, Laurel, you and I've talked about that and done that before, where it's, okay, you'll take my blog and you'll say, okay, well, why don't we tweet this over here and direct people back to read it? And then you have a video. So great, let's take the YouTube channel and you got a bunch of subscribers there, but why don't we tweet the link to that video? Why don't we post that video on LinkedIn to direct people back to your YouTube channel? And all of my channels direct people back to the website. And that's where you can always find me. And it's, it can all tie together if you have an idea for the approach. And you guys really showed me a lot when it came to just understanding the fundamentals behind that and seeing how it could all link together.
Excellent. So Jason and Laurel, remind our audience how they can find you.
You can find us. Our website is slabtownmarketing.com.
Cool. And Jason and I talked before the show too. That same questionnaire, or maybe even an updated version of it, can be found at slabtownmarketing.com. You can go to their resources tab and you can download that questionnaire. They put together some really simple yet difficult to answer questions. Simple questions to ask, difficult ones to answer. But when you've met that sweet spot, when you've arrived at that point, that's where they're really the important questions to be answered. And that's what I love about what they've done together. And it's this beautiful document that they spent a lot of time putting together. And I'm sure that it's ready for prime time by the time you guys get around to hearing it and seeing it. And take the test, take the assessment. I wouldn't even want to call it a test, but, test yourself and how ready you are to approach that target market and check it out.
With that, we won't ask Jason and Laurel about their why because they've already shared it with us in
episode
previous
50
episodes. If you don't have that, go back to episode 50. That's right.
Christie, Jason, and Laurel clearly know their whys.
And when you know your whys, your hows and your whats get much better.
Thanks everybody for being here. We'll talk to you again next week.
I told you once, I've told you twice. I told myself it doesn't matter.
How about the music on this podcast? We call them our house band. They call themselves Haskins, and they're based out of Plymouth, Michigan. If you want to hear more from them, go to haskinsmusic.com and check them out. Hey, thanks for listening to us on the Y and the Buy podcast. If you like us, tell us. Send us a message at the Y and the Buy on Twitter, or leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you got this podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Talk to you next week.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.